Hello, hello, and welcome to Third Shot Rants with Howard and Gina. I'm Gina. Hi, Howard.
Hi, Gina.
And we're two pickleball friends living in Chicago.
Gina, what are we talking about this episode?
Howard, today we have some Dupr advice. What do you got for us?
Yeah, we've got 3 pieces of advice for people. First option you could do is don't get a Dupr. You can not have a Dupr and just have a great pickleball life without it. Second option is if you really want a reliable Dupr, play a bunch of Dupr matches. We'll talk about that. And the third set of advice we have for people is maybe some little strategic tips for how to maximize your Dupr. I know people are interested in advice on that.
Definitely. Howard, we talked about our merch store. It's finally launched. What do you got for us?
I know it's excellent, Gina. So Gina did all the designs on it. They all look great. Just upfront, I want to let people know there is a Black Friday upcoming sale on the site. They are offering free shipping for all on-demand products, which I think is all of our products from Wednesday, November 26th to Monday, December 1st. And I think we try to find a good site for you guys. I think the prices on the t-shirts and all the products are pretty reasonable. Gina and I have both gotten a couple of orders, and everything seems pretty high quality, Gina.
Yeah, I'm really liking what I've gotten so far. So I like the quality of the products from Cotton Bureau. So I'm glad that we went with this company. But I would say that the shipping is a little high. So this deal sounds amazing for Black Friday.
Yeah, I think that was the only negative. The prices for kind of custom logo products really seemed they're pretty good compared to other options we saw, but you do have to pay for shipping normally. So the Black Friday sale from the Wednesday before Thanksgiving to the Monday after, that's a great deal. I think it should work. So if you just want to get one T-shirt or one mug or something, I haven't actually seen it in operation, but I believe you can buy that and not pay any shipping fees, which is fantastic.
Oh, that'll be great. Huge thanks to our friends who have purchased some items to rep the pod. Means a lot to us. And then friendly reminder, our shop is pro bono. We're not making any money off of our merch. We're just kind of doing it for fun. And yeah.
Gina, what's the best shirt on the site?
My favorite one is the Two Brats shirt. So you'll go to our site, you'll see the store. It's our best review that we've gotten on Apple Podcasts. Howard, what does the review say?
It says 2 entitled brats complaining about other brats.
I mean, just amazing content right there. So thank you to whoever left us that review. We could not let that go to waste. I've got it on a hoodie now, so I'll be wearing that one around, and it's a great conversation piece. So,
and it was Gina. It was still a 2-star review, so it wasn't
2 stars.
1 star.
You know, it's like they saw that there was some quality content here, but they couldn't give us just one.
For sure. Okay, on to the show, Gina. What do we have?
All right, Howard. So first up is we can do your personal Dupr strategy, which is do not get a Dupr, do not do anything Dupr related, and just live a really happy pickleball life. There is no requirement to have a Dupr, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
forget this.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. For someone who talks and thinks a lot about Dupr, and for all the Dupr interviews we've done, I don't have a Dupr. I don't feel a big need to get one. Here's the thing: you can almost all the situations you'd want to play in, unless you want to play Dupr for the sake of playing Dupr matches. Almost all the situations you can play in, whether it's outside in public parks or the vast majority of sessions in clubs, they're not Dupr gated. So most clubs, most sessions don't have a Dupr requirement. And then for the ones that do, a lot of clubs have a club rating that you can get. You can go and do a session, or it may be handled in different ways at each club, but you can get a rating to get into those sessions that do have some gating without actually going and getting a strict Dupr rating itself. So that's an easy way to play. The other way I tend to like to play is I form a lot of groups, foursomes, eightsomes, and that way you can play with exactly who you want to play with. Just reserve some court time and figure out who's about the right level and whose personalities you enjoy playing with, and then you have exactly the group that you want. That's what I tend to do a lot.
I like this, Howard. So what you're saying is that we totally don't need a Dupr. This is not a requirement by any means. You can play your competitive, excellent matches with your friends all outside of this. So I think that's a great route to go.
Yeah, so I think it's great. You can get exactly the kind of group you want. So if you want to be really intense, really competitive, maybe keep score, maybe declare a winner at the end of your session, you can find the kind of people that want to play that kind of session. Or if you want to be just a little more friendly and goof around and joke around and not take it super seriously, you can do that too. Or you can do a mix of those at different times. But you can create the sessions that you want. I think the only thing where you really do need the Dupr rating is those sessions that are Dupr gated, and they're not the majority of sessions, and there can often be ways to get a club rating that gets you around having to have a Dupr rating. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think, Howard, with your approach, though, is that you really need that organizer in the group. I think you do a phenomenal job at this, of making sure that you get people's numbers, organizing the groups. That is a really good level for everyone that is playing. I think what I'm saying is that everyone needs a Howard. You need that friend who's willing to put in the work. So thanks for doing that, Howard.
Appreciate it, Gina. But I also think people should think about, it's not really that hard to do that. You can ask for people's numbers. Pretty much everyone's happy to give their numbers because it's a chance to play more pickleball. It's a chance to get invites to go play pickleball, and you don't have to accept the invite, but most people, pretty much everyone, is happy to give out their number.
Totally. So it is a little bit of just putting yourself out there to be that organizer, which is totally doable. You meet your people at open play, and then you find, hey, this is a great group. We should do this at a different time.
Yeah,
and the ball gets rolling from there.
And the good part of it, Gina, is you can get exactly the group that you want. That's what I enjoy.
Definitely. Sounds good, Howard.
Now, Gina, what if you really want to care about Dupr? What do you do?
Yeah, so if you really care about your Dupr, you're going to want to play Dupr matches regularly. This is going to be the best way to achieve and maintain that accurate Dupr score. So we're looking at playing against that wide range of people. We've hinted at this before, but go to maybe different clubs, go to different tournaments, find different groups that you can play in on. The more data that we feed the algorithm, the more accurate that number will be. There's plenty of Dupr sessions at all of our local clubs too. And so we had mentioned this on that prior episode of different things to do. You can play a tournament. You can go to Dupr sessions, Dupr ladders. You could go to David Tran's sessions outside when the weather permits. You can also gather your group and submit those scores to Dupr yourself. My advice here is take a look at Court Reserve, check out, weekly, what clubs have going on. I know Piccadilly and Pickleball Clubhouse have added some new Dupr events. If you look on SPF's website, they have a variety of options as well. So these are great ways of mixing it up, going to different places, finding different groups to perform with or to play with, and getting that accurate Dupr coming out of it.
Yeah, that makes total sense, Gina. So yeah, I think pretty much all the clubs around here, the local clubs in Chicago, pretty much all of them have a weekly or more frequent Dupr session that you can join. And and you can try the different ones and see what works for you.
Yeah, I really like that it doesn't have to be a tournament. It doesn't have to eat up half your day. It could be, like a 90-minute session of organized games that all get entered into Dupr, and then you're done. So there's a little something for everyone.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Gina, on to the big topic. Here are our strategic tips for how to think about Dupr if you really want to care about your Dupr rating.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first thing we have?
The first thing that I want to mention is not to have a certain Dupr in mind. Is that okay to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that like having, if you're a 3.0 and you really want to get to 4.0, I don't know that that's always the most helpful like mindset to have. When I'm thinking about improving, I'm really thinking about what is my game missing? And so I could say, I'm working on my two-handed backhand counter in a drive that's about 6 inches over the net. Something like really specific things like that. And I think the Dupr is going to come from that. Winning more, winning more points, winning more games is going to come from working on two really specific things at this moment. And I think this just kind of helps us to like not get lost in the Dupr shuffle. So if we are just have a number in mind, I think it's a little bit harder to kind of see how do we actually get there. And so my first piece of advice is go to those events, find out what's working, what's not working against higher Dupr players, and then that's your homework, right? That's what I'm working on. Any thoughts on that, Howard?
It's a very balanced, holistic way of thinking about it, Gina. It's lovely, but I also think people are a little obsessed about their Dupr rating, so they tend to think, okay, I'm 3.71. I'd like to get to 4.0.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's a very super common thing to have happen is like you're just chasing that number. If you're forcing yourself to maybe focus on a few specific things, I think we'll get there faster is what I'm saying. So yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That the best you may have that goal in the back of your mind, but the best way to achieve it is to work on the specific skills that will actually improve your performance.
Yeah. So just a little like food for thought. That's something that I'm working on as well. Next piece of advice is don't play too early in your pickle journey. Don't play Dupr matches too early in your pickle career and become like a reliable 2.5. Like if you think that you're going to improve, just because this is really kind of boxing us into a lower Dupr than we might possibly achieve like within 6 months. So I think that there's some things to consider when you're first starting out is, have I played a racket sport before? Have I played any sport before? Like what's my athletic ability at this moment in time? I would probably recommend waiting like 6 months before doing like too many things in Dupr, just so that you're really developing strategy, your strokes, all that good stuff. And then, this whole concept goes back to the fact that Dupr starts us at 3.5. And so doing a lot of activities like ladders and tournaments at 2.5, it might, like we might be digging ourselves into a hole. What do you think, Howard?
Yeah, that makes complete sense to me, Gina. I mean, here's the thing. I think most people who get pretty addicted to pickleball, which is all of us, anyone that's playing a bunch, I think you're just naturally going to improve a lot in your first 6, 12, 18 months or so. It's just even if you're not doing the smart things of working on specific shots or drilling, which maybe the vast majority of us don't really do, even if you're not doing any of that stuff, if you're just playing a ton of games, you're going to improve a lot just from repetition. And if you know you're going to be a much better player in 12 months than you are today, then why? It comes back to the first thing we talked about too, Gina. Like you don't really need a Dupr. You can play all you want without a Dupr, and you can play competitive matches and be intense if you want without having a Dupr. Why lock yourself in at 2.5 or 3.0 when you're going to be 3.5 or 4.0 relatively soon? I do think the algorithm will update over time. So if you did lock yourself in at 2.5, but then you become 3.5 in a year, and you keep playing a bunch of Dupr matches, your Dupr rating will improve over time and match your level. But it's just an extra hurdle you have starting out, especially when, as you said, Gina, the algorithm starts you at 3.5 in the beginning. Why create a Dupr that's a 2.5 that then has a whole bunch of match history that you've got to work against?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So I think, the main takeaway is probably don't do too much. Like if you do one here and there to kind of test the water, see where you're at, like, because you're just truly unsure, the algorithm's not going to hurt you that much because it won't be super reliable. I mean, I did not do a Dupr event until 2.5 years in. So I don't know that that's like good or bad. It's just sort of how it worked out because, like you said, you don't need a Dupr for 98% of all pickleball activity.
Yeah. Also, if you see either of us on the courts, we'll Dupr rate you if you want.
Oh my God, Howard, do not get us into that kind of trouble. Howard can Dupr rate anyone within 0.2.
Yeah, but really, I just go back to the first thing. You don't really need a Dupr. So unless you kind of know what level you are based on who you play against and whether you're winning or losing. So if you're trying to figure out what the right level is to play at, you can try different sessions. You can play against different people, and the results will tell you how you're doing.
So true. What if it's a woman who's going to these open gendered Dupr events?
Yeah, that goes back to what we've talked about over the last 2 shows, Gina, which is it really does seem to us that men's and women's Duprs are not quite equivalent, that a man and a woman who are otherwise equivalent, the woman might have a slightly higher Dupr rating just based on the way the system works, which we spent time talking about in our first Dupr episode, and then we talked a bit about in the last episode. And if that's true, and if you're a woman and your Dupr comes primarily from playing in traditional gendered groups, so from women's doubles or from strict mixed doubles where it's always one man and one woman playing against another man and another woman, so it's kind of balanced out, then if you go to these open gender Dupr sessions, so anyone can sign up for those, and in some sense that's great because that opens up the pool of players for those sessions. But honestly, if you just want to go and play those, it's totally fine. You'll have a good time. You'll play a bunch of Dupr matches and working your rating. That's great. But it is possible that if women's Duprs are a little higher than men's for the same level player, that if you go to those sessions as a woman, your Dupr rating might come down a little bit, and we've had people tell us that.
Yeah, so I think we've heard of some examples of this happening, and I feel like I don't know. I think there's a market for these like lady Dupr days of having a session of just women, and they can feel pretty comfortable with any of the court configurations come latter day or however the club does this.
Yeah, I think that could make sense in the world that we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we talked about and what I know Dupr says they want to move towards is truly universal rating, so that a 4-0 woman is exactly the same performance-wise in a match as a 4-0 man, right? Maybe they have different. Maybe the 4-0 woman looks different from the 4-0 man in terms of where their strengths and weaknesses lie, right? Maybe a man will tend to be stronger, but maybe a woman will tend to have better technique or whatever to offset that. But if you truly had a universal rating system and every 4-0 was equivalent to every other 4-0, regardless of gender or age or so forth, then you could just have these open Dupr sessions at the clubs, and you wouldn't have to worry about that. So that would be great. You could just sign up for whatever session you wanted, and everyone who's within the range of the session at the club would, that would make sense for them to play each other. But if we're in the world that we seem to be in at the moment, then maybe you have to think a little more carefully about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it all just kind of comes down to being strategic about it, having an idea of who's already signed up for these events before we decide to jump in as well.
Yeah, but also if you enjoy the Dupr sessions at the clubs and they're fun time, then go play. That's fine too.
Mm-hmm. Next piece of advice that we have lined up is not staying in that same biome. So we had talked about this idea prior is these little biomes get created where maybe we're recording matches with all the same people. There's no way for the algorithm to determine that if like that whole group is improving when we stay in that biome. And you'll end up in a situation where you're just trading back these Dupr points with the people within this group, and you won't get any credit for any improvement. So if there's a scenario where you're going to the same like Dupr event with all the same people and that's kind of it, this is where that situation can arise, and I think the best advice is just try to avoid it. It just goes back to making sure that we have a variety of data for the algorithm. What do you think, Howard?
Yeah, totally, Gina. So in the really extreme examples, if you had, I don't think this is really what happens, but if you had 4 people and all they ever did was play their Dupr matches, rotating with each other within that foursome, and you report all of those scores to Dupr, there's literally no way for the algorithm to know how those players as a group are doing. The algorithm will sort out the relative level of each person within that foursome. It'll do that super, super accurately if you're recording dozens and dozens of matches within that foursome. But that foursome could all be improving a ton. They could be playing better, drilling, working on their games. They could be a half Dupr point better or a whole Dupr point better over the course of a year or so. And by the same token, that group could be completely stagnant. That group could just be exactly the same after a year that they were at the beginning of the year. And there's just no way for the algorithm, the way it works, to know which of those 2 scenarios or some other scenario you're in. So all the algorithm can do is sort out the relative levels within that group, not the overall performance of that group. So if you've improved a bunch, then you need to go out and play some other people, play a more diverse set of people, and show that your Dupr is better by beating people that you were previously lower rated than.
Yeah, makes sense. So again, variety is the key here. Is that the algorithm cannot determine, facts that it doesn't like have privy to, and so making sure that you get different people involved and different maybe organizations is super helpful in getting that accurate Dupr.
Yeah, and I think you don't, the example of 4 people that all they do is play each other for Dupr, that's super extreme, and that doesn't really happen. But there are Dupr sessions that are structured more like leagues, or kind of closed groups that might run for multiple sessions. You play not the same foursome, but you play kind of more or less the same set of people over a course of 8 or 10 weeks or 8 or 10 sessions. And you're going to have a bit of that effect there where, you're just playing the same people more or less and kind of trading your Dupr points back and forth, and it won't reflect improvement you're making over that time if you are. So yeah, maybe do that if that's fun, but then maybe try some if you really want to work. This is our strategic advice section where you really want to work on your Dupr. If you think you're better, then maybe go out and play a different set of people.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, Howard, if you're going to that tournament, should people be playing up or down, do you think?
Yeah, so Tito talked about this a bit on the last show that we did, and he said his advice was maybe you play down, because let's kind of go to the example we've used a couple of times. So if you have 4-5 playing a 4-0 team, that 4-5 team is expected to win something like 11 to 5.5 points, and so in order for the 4-5 team to go up in Dupr, they've got to beat that expectation. They've got to win 11-4, 11-3, or 11-0. And if they beat that expectation of 11 to 5.5, then they will go up. The 4-0 team, if they beat the expectation, they can do it either by losing a little more closely than 11 to 5.5. They could lose by 11-7 or 11-9, and their Dupr will go up. And certainly, if the 4-0 team beats the 4-5 team, then the Dupr will go up a lot. And Tito's advice was he felt it was easier for the team that was playing down, so the 4-5 team, to do a little better because they're the better team, and they could maybe take a couple of extra points or stop the other team from getting a couple of extra points than the expectation. And I don't know about that. I think that's, Gina, kind of a bit of a personal decision of what you feel more comfortable about.
Yeah, definitely. I see what Tito's saying. I think I would have to go the other way, where if you play down, I feel like that pressure's really on to perform. Like, you expect 1 or 2 net chords, or like, random things that don't happen every match to occur. But you got to be so on, like, you miss that one return. And I think I'd be kind of in my head a little bit about giving a point away there. Whereas when you're playing up, I think because you feel like you've got a little bit less to lose, maybe you can go out and play a little bit looser.
Yeah, that makes. I think it is a personal decision. So maybe if you're playing down, you feel dominant, and you can just beat the crap out of the other team by even more than expectation. But if you're worried about the net chords, or you're just making an unforced error that feels like a kind of a giveaway on your part, then if that's going to be in the back of your mind, then maybe you shouldn't play down. The other thing I think to keep in mind, and this is probably the main reason why you should play up, which I think is definitely the standard advice that exists now, given the new algorithm. But you have much more. Your upside is much higher if you're playing up, because if you're playing down, the expectation is you beat them 11 to 5.5, and maybe you do great, and maybe you can beat them 11-1, or you pickle them, and you'll get a bump up for that. But that's the best you can do, to pickle them rather than beating them by 11 to 5.5. If you're playing up, you can do well by beating the expectation by losing narrowly, but you could beat them, or you could beat them soundly if you have a great match. And just the upside for you is way higher than it would be if you played down. And especially if you think, everyone thinks Gina, that their rating is a little lower than it should be, and I don't know if that's true or not, but if you think it is, and you really want a chance to prove it, then playing up will give you a chance to really boost your rating if you really exceed the expectations of the algorithm.
Yeah, definitely. The opportunity is there for the taken. So go on and sign up, get those dubs, or at least get some points, and see how the algorithm shakes out at the end. I think it's it's not like it's some it's a reasonable risk to take, especially if you think you're underrated. Yeah, I mean, kind of moving on from that, what you've already mentioned is that, this new algorithm, every single point counts. So with this forecasting that they have incorporated into Dupr matches, it feels like we really have to be extra careful. So if you really care about improving your Dupr, there's no letting up in the match. If it's, 10-1, you're locking in to get that last point. Like, it's not like, oh, we can kind of, go easy for right now. Like, just keep that foot on the pedal and keep it going. So yeah, if you really want to maximize your Dupr, no going easy, no being nice. Go out and play hard.
Yeah, as we've talked about on past shows, Gina, like I honestly feel a little bad about crushing someone. As we've talked about, I like to ask you, are they worth pickling?
Mm.
And if it's someone who's just a solid player and they, we're having a great game or they're having a bad game, then fine. But you have real mismatches sometimes. I think it's fine in this circumstance though, right? So if you're in a Dupr recorded session or a Dupr recorded match or a tournament, everyone's signed up for this. Everyone knows it's for Dupr. Everyone's playing for Dupr, and everyone should be trying their hardest to get every single point they can. I think maybe sometimes in these Dupr sessions at the clubs, you might possibly have a big mismatch. And I don't know, Gina, you've told me that other people are not going to feel this way, but I might feel a tiny bit bad about pickling someone that was just way below what my team was. But I guess it's fine because they showed up to play a Dupr match, and that's what the deal is.
Yeah, I think it really is going to be that mentality. And, this goes back to probably our targeting episode, where what kind of group are we in right now? And how hard should I be playing? So
yeah,
be nice to your friends. And
but yeah, I think if you're in a Dupr group and you're playing for Dupr, that's why everyone's there. So it's fine. Let's go back to targeting. Target the weaker player if it makes sense, because that's what everyone signed up for.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a lot of just like staying mentally strong and not like lightening up at all. So you might feel a little bit mean. Don't, there's no reason to feel that way. Just keep it going and let the algorithm do its thing. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Howard, what would you say to someone who is truly underrated? Their Dupr is 3.0, but this player, they are a 3.5. How do we get them there?
First thing I say, Gina, is, are you really sure you're underrated? Because everyone thinks they're underrated. I can't think of someone who thinks that Dupr is overrated.
Can you just be rated though?
You can be, but I'm just saying a lot of people think they're underrated. Just it can't be the case that everyone is underrated. But this is we're trying to be constructive here, Gina. So if you're 3.5 and you really know you're 4.0 and you just need your Dupr to properly reflect that, then we have some advice for you. The first piece of advice is going back to what you said earlier, Gina. Like just play more matches, right? If you maybe you're someone who, like we talked about, maybe you got locked into a lower Dupr early on when you were not as good, and you've really improved in the 6 months or so since your Dupr got initially set. Well, then you can go out and you can prove that. It's not that complicated. You can play against people who have similar Duprs or slightly higher Duprs than you, and if you really are considerably better than your rating, you will be able to prove that over a series of games. If you play more and more games, then you'll win those if you truly are better, and your Dupr rating will go up to reflect that.
That seems really reasonable, right? So go seek out those matches and then get some dubs, and then the algorithm is going to be able to shake itself out. Like, you should get rewarded for those wins.
And
Yeah.
it may take some time. You
Yeah.
know, like going back to that previous advice, don't lock yourself in to a lower Dupr if you're gonna improve over time. But the algorithm will sort it out if you have the results to demonstrate that. If you don't have the results to demonstrate that, then maybe you weren't that underrated to begin with. Also, we talked earlier about this, but probably play up if you're playing, especially if you're playing in tournaments. That if you really know you're underrated, so your 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 rating is 3.5, but you know you're 4.0 plus, then yeah, go play in that 4.0 tournament.
Yeah, it seems as easy as that. So you can complain and complain and complain about the algorithm, but you need to be able to get these wins, right? And so if you go play an entire 4.0 tournament, there should be some wins that you get, right? Like, you might not win the entire tournament, but you should be, beating the forecast or having close matches with these teams. If it's completely one-sided, then yeah, it's maybe time to look in the mirror a little bit.
Gina, this is a little bit of an aside, but we have heard from people this issue of playing up or down, and the standard advice now is just always play up. That's what everyone gets told, and there are these issues that arise now where everyone is playing up in the tournament. So if all the 4.0s are now playing in the 4.5 bracket, then that 4.5 bracket doesn't even really look like a 4.5 bracket anymore, and that's something for the tournaments to think about, because if everyone's playing up, then, and for the most part, I think most tournaments don't really, they don't have a requirement that you have a Dupr that meets the threshold of the bracket. You can I'm not sure this is universally true, but in a lot of tournaments you can play up without needing to get approval, even if your Dupr is not at the bracket level.
Mm. Yeah, this does create a difficult situation because, like you're saying, like, now these 4.7s, 4.8s, 4.9s aren't getting the matches that they're looking for because they might be playing against 4.0, 4.1, 4.2, all of that. And so, yeah, how do these tournament directors, I don't know. Yeah, do you think that we need to have like a minimum and maximum Dupr for each level?
Yeah, maybe, because then, if everyone's playing up, then the 4.5 bracket doesn't look like a 4.5 bracket anymore. It looks like a 4.0 bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And I have also heard from people that it's especially tough at the high ends. A 5.0 plus, it's hard to get a bracket anymore because everyone's kind of trying to play up in that, and especially with the new algorithm, some of the people who are actually 5.0 plus, they may not want to play in a bracket that has a bunch of 4.5 or lower players playing up. They don't want to put their Duprs on the line, and the fewer and fewer Dupr recorded brackets at the really high end.
Man, that's super true. And that's tough too, because right, everyone wants a little piece of like that 5.0 pie, right? I want to test my skills against these players, but they're just trying to do their own thing, right? They're trying to get good matches as well, like everyone else. And yeah, it really makes you like be super cautious when you're signing up for a tournament of like seeing, okay, who's already signed up. I'm seeing a lot right now where like it seems like people are kind of playing chicken, and so if there's only one team signed up or like no team signed up, like no one wants to be the first team to sign up. If there's a low amount of teams, it kind of stays there. But yeah, I think that with those 5.0s, like you gotta let them play and have some good matches. And I don't know. I don't think it's the time to try to steal Dupr points, but it's a tough thing to navigate for sure.
Gina, everyone's trying to still do her points.
I know, but like if you're truly like a 4-0, like you can't go a full point. Like I don't know. It's a tough situation of like.
Yeah, I think tournaments are going to end up putting in more restrictions probably, because the flip side of the playing up or down thing we talked about is, we talked about, yeah, you should play up because there's more upside, because if you can get a really good result against a higher rated team when you're playing up, that's going to give your duper a big boost. The flip side is it's mostly downside for the teams that are playing down. If you're a 5-3 player and you end up in this 5-0 bracket, but it's really 4-3, 4-5 players you're playing against. If you have a bad match or something really weird happens, it's a big downside for you. You potentially lose a lot in that match.
Yeah, very risky.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it does make those tournament director jobs a little bit tougher. Something that's to really consider, and probably just talking to these players to seeing how they can best resolve and make sure that everyone's feeling comfortable. And
Yeah, that makes sense. Our next piece of advice, Gina, is, and this is a little strategic and not super obvious. You have to think about the reliability rating of your partner. So if you're really correct and you're underrated, and you're gonna go play, let's say you're gonna go play a tournament where you're just playing with one partner the whole time. If your partner has a significantly lower reliability rating than you go into this tournament, you have the overperformance that you thought you would have because you were underrated coming in. Your partner, if they are lower rated than you, will end up getting much more of the credit for that overperformance, because the algorithm says, and let's say you had a high reliability, so you had a 90 or 100% reliability going in, and you were underrated because you got your dupe at a time when you were less good. If you play with a partner that has a really low reliability rating and you have a great result, then the algorithm says, okay, I know I kind of had a good sense of what your duper was because you had a really high reliability rating. So the statistically logical way to explain the overperformance is, it's most likely that the player that I didn't have a lot of data on, that had the low reliability rating, that they were really much better than I thought they were going into the match. And that player, and we're talking about reliability ratings, not their duper rating. So regardless of what their duper rating was, if you guys had an overperformance, it's most likely because that person that I didn't have a bunch of data or match results for, that they really were better than I thought they were. And I'm going to credit most of the gain from that match to that low reliability player. And that's going to make it tougher for you to work on your duper.
this is a tough one, Howard. So we really need to be looking at that reliability score. Is this like a conversation that we have to have with our friends then? Like, hey, this like maybe isn't a good spot for me to play with you because I'm trying to up my duper and your reliability is at 2. It's not going to end up helping that person with the reliable duper.
Yeah, I think so. On our first show, I think we both talked about how dupers, for the most part, seem pretty accurate to us. Although since we've talked, I've seen more examples that seem maybe a little more off. But there was one guy who I know fairly well. I know he played a bunch of tournaments. We talked about his tournaments and his duper. He was one of the few people who seemed way off to me. So he was someone who, I think he's easily like 3.7, 3.8. But he had a duper rating that was like 3.0 or 3.1, and it illustrates a couple of things we talked about. He got that rating when he was much less good. He truly improved a lot over time, but he had a rating that came from a time when he was less good, and that was possibly accurate for what level he was at the time. And then he went and played in a tournament with a partner that had a lower reliability rating than he did, and they had some good results. And you can look at individual matches in Dupr, and you can see when they they overperformed. They beat a team that was higher rated than they were by a good bit, but the vast majority of the Dupr point gain went to the partner because he had a lower reliability rating, and that's something to watch out for. So if you really are convinced you're underrated and you think this tournament is the way that's going to fix your Dupr, then you should find a good partner. So you can certainly play with a high rated player. That there's no harm from that. But if you play with someone that has a low reliability score, then they will just the way the algorithm works, they will necessarily get most of the credit for overperformance as well as underperformance, right? So it cuts both ways. But if you're going in and you really are convinced and you know that you were underrated going in, then you're expecting to overperform. And who's going to get the benefit of that? It's going to be your partner if they have a lower reliability score.
Howard, this is good advice. Yeah, so it's definitely not, don't play with your friend with, a low reliability score, but it's really just that if you think you're underrated and you are trying to work on that, you need to look at the reliability score. If you truly don't care, then that's great too. Yeah, so I think I'm just trying to I don't know, lessen the blow a tiny bit of just remembering that we don't have to care about this at all.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
And do find especially if you're playing a tournament, find a good partner. Find a partner that fits well with you, someone you've played with and you feel comfortable with.
Yeah. Having a partner that you gel with is, worth the most in Dupr land, I think, is just being able to lift each other up and play well together is number one. So
yeah, for sure. Okay, Gina, Coach's Corner, what do you have for us?
Howard, since we're on the topic of Dupr and talked a lot about tournaments, I wanted to talk a bit about getting a coaching session before a tournament, and what that might look like. So sometimes I'll have people come to me, either individual players or teams, and they want a drill session, and this is really to get in some really high quality reps before your tournament. So maybe you're playing on a Saturday. I'll get people calling me on a Thursday of like, I just want endless reps, it feels like. And this is a scenario we're going to an open play. You probably aren't quite able to, drill your backhand like 40 times in a row and then move on to something else. So yeah, I would kind of consider it like a build-up session. Like, we're not looking at mechanics. We're not like changing anything drastic, but it's really like giving that player some reminders or that team some reminders of like, hey, don't forget, what we've been working on, and kind of just building them up, making sure that they're feeling confident for tournament day. So for doubles teams, we really want that middle sorted out. If you're playing with a newer partner, like you guys are a new partnership, like ideally like that's already worked out before the tournament. So working with the coach can kind of help you guys for sure. So
right. What do you do in that session to work on the middle, Gina?
Yeah, so we'll start with like having a pretty candid conversation. If I'm working with two right-handed players, they're a team. I want that left side player playing big. I want that right side player giving that left side player room. So it's a little bit of like, there might be some ego involved there, and these people might not even be stacking. So your role is changing based on each point, and just making sure that we understand our role when we're on different sides of the court. For newer partnerships, I think sometimes they can find success in using that respect the X concept, which is really just letting that ball go like on the diagonal that it's heading, and I think we'll clank paddles a tiny bit less in that scenario, especially for new partnerships. It's not something that I really recommend like forever, but I do think it has its purpose.
Gina, when I play with someone newish, I sometimes like to point to a spot on the court and say, that's the middle for us, regardless of who's on the left or right. Is that rude?
No, I like that. I'm telling, especially my groups of ladies, like every week is like, hey, if you're going to open play, have that quick combo of like forehand's going to take up to this much court, making sure that I don't want to see like backhands jamming up the middle. And then, we miss that point because of that. So over communicating, letting your partner know, hey, I'm taking an extra foot. That's great. I mean, I think it's over communicating is always going to be helpful. So when they slip through the middle, a ball slips through the middle and no one even goes for it, that's when we know we've got some trouble on our hands. But it happens, especially early on in a partnership. So working out those issues and feeling confident for tournament day or game day is just kind of part of the process.
Gina, I don't know that I fully respect the X, or maybe even at all. So if we're at the baseline, I like to think of the middle as maybe a foot and a half over from the middle lines, somewhere around then. Somewhere around there. I've got to look at it to be sure. Maybe even a tiny bit more. And then it feels like, let's say I'm on the left side and the serve's coming back just a little past the middle. Then if I'm taking that ball that's a foot and a half over, that feels like if I were respecting the X, I would not take that on my forehand.
That's a tough one. I think in pickleball, the answer is always it depends. Like, how good is your forehand? How quickly can you get back into position after that? Are going to be really important factors. So, if you are just like feeling it, like you are in a zone, I'm going to say go for it. Just like go into beast mode and take that ball.
Gina, I'm never in beast mode.
I've seen you in beast mode, Howard. Nice try.
Nor am I the most mobile of players, but I don't actually feel like coming a foot and a half over and taking that ball, and then going back to my left side. That doesn't feel super challenging to cover. I also don't think people hit if you're dropping to the middle on that shot, and you're dropping to, let's say, the backhand of the person coming in. People don't really go to your backhand because that's a tougher shot cross court for the backhand of the person coming in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just making sure that you're doing the right thing with that third shot is part of the answer here too. So if you're just driving it at the person at the kitchen, then you're probably screwed because you're out of position and that ball is going to get put away like fairly quickly. So yeah, being smart with it, dropping it to the middle, like making sure that your drops are drop in is really important come game time. So yeah, like I mentioned, it definitely depends. So in that scenario, it sounds like it works. A foot and a half is good.
Should I drive it at the person who's already at the kitchen, Gina? Is that a good idea?
So I was talking about this yesterday. So I call that like just like a warning shot of like, see if they're awake, see what they're up to. It's a lot of times they know exactly what to do with it, and then I'm like, great, I have that data now. I am not doing that again. If they're caught off guard, then great. Like maybe that's exactly what you wanted, was that pop-up situation. There's a time and place, right? But if I do that once and I that player at the kitchen puts that ball away with ease, I'm not doing it again and again. It's okay, that did not work. Thank you for that feedback. I will do something else next.
Totally fair. There's a good chance if I'm the person at the kitchen that I will be caught off guard. So go for it.
Yeah, I want to see. Are they paying attention? Are they engaged? How was their sleep last night? No, just kidding. Okay, but yeah, there's a little something to it.
Okay, that sounds great, Gina. So if people want coaching from Gina, whether it's for tournament prep or something else, they can email her at gtpicklecoach@gmail.com. It's gtpicklecoach@gmail.com. All of the information like that and merch shop and all that kind of stuff we'll put in the show notes. I am a Carbon Paddle ambassador. I have a discount code Carbon10, CRBNTEN. The new True Foam Waves paddle is great. So use that code if you want to get one. Listeners who want to email us or tell us we're brats or have suggestions for topics for new shows or who want to come on the show and do an interview, email us at thirdshotrants@gmail.com. I will say, Gina, we really don't know where we're going with this. It's possible we're gonna do more of a season of this podcast and take a hiatus at some point. Not anytime right away, but after maybe a few more episodes. It's possible we'll just keep on going for a while. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when I first mentioned this to you and you said podcasts don't have seasons, I was a little bit alarmed. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth considering if we break for a little bit or maybe in the new year and come back in springtime when we're back to outdoor play and go chase the drama.
Yeah, I think we'll just see. We definitely have some ideas for various episodes coming up. We want to do probably more when it's springtime and you can play outside again. We want to do an episode talking about the different public courts in Chicago or the Chicago area, and kind of giving you what we know about each of those. But we're sorting some stuff out on the pod.
Howard, I always want more field trips with you. So how do we do that?
We'll see. We'll see, Gina. Okay, so please follow us. Follow us on whichever app you're listening to us on. Give us a good rating if you can. We would love that. And as always, we're open for offers for advertising now that we're a little more established as a show. Gina,
Howard,
do we have an after show?
I think we have an after show. We've got some birthdays coming up, Howard. We share the same birthday week. So let's start with last year. What did I force you to do?
Just for you, Gina, I went to the first, I think it was the only pickleball adjacent activity, like a social event that's with pickleball people that I've ever gone to, I think then or now, that didn't involve any playing of actual pickleball.
Mm-hmm. This was a big thing. So getting Howard to agree to come to my pizza party was not easy. But I mean, I felt like $1 million when I saw you show up. And you know what, Howard, you look so cute because you had on like a sweater and a little like collared shirt underneath. And I'm like, oh, look at him in his real clothes. It's fun to see our pickleball friends like outside of their pickle clothes.
I did ask you, are we playing pickleball at this thing, Gina? Like, no, it's just pizza. Pizza
Okay,
and
but
pickle.
where was it? The best pizza?
It was a piece, which is excellent, which is truly excellent. And I would have gone no matter what, Gina, but that kind of sealed the deal.
My anxiety was through the roof. I don't think I could do it again. I don't know why. Like I just, yeah, it was awesome to see you guys. Maybe we'll post the picture in the show notes of just getting to hang out with my pickleball friends. This is, pretty early in our friendship, like within the first 6 months. So it meant a lot to me that you guys came. So thank you.
And we are recording just a little ways out from both of our birthdays, so we're both excited about that.
Howard, what are you doing for your birthday?
I'm an old man, Gina. I truly have so little interest or concern in my birthday. Like we don't really we don't really celebrate at home that much. Maybe a tiny bit, but it's.
Do you go out for dinner? Anything?
Sometimes we say we go out for dinner, but we don't really. We just like I'll just tell people we went out for dinner, but
Because they ask and you feel like you need to have an answer.
yeah, because you're like a psycho if you didn't do something. But I don't know, it's fine. Like my wife and I have lunch almost every day
Yeah.
somewhere out, and we'll just call one of those a birthday meal.
Howard, I've been hearing a lot about people loving Rosita's tacos, so maybe that's your birthday dinner this year.
For real, that's awesome.
Yes.
I love them so much. They're tremendous people.
Okay. I still haven't been, so maybe that's where I'm going for mine.
Gina, I was going to wait for later, but my wife would love if you would join us for a birthday lunch at some point.
Stop it. Oh my God. Howard, don't make me cry when I'm sick. I would absolutely love that. Oh my gosh. I'm like tickled right now.
I was going to wait until it was a little closer, but since we're on the show, I figured I'd do it live.
Freaking love your wife. Thank you. That would be a dream come true.
Maybe we'll go to Rosita's, or maybe we'll go to someplace different. We'll see.
That would be amazing. Please tell her yes and thank you, and that I love her. Thank you. Happy birthday and happy pickling, Howard.
Happy birthday, Gina. Happy pickling.